have you ever woken up and looked in your tank? Let's just say you own shrimp, all right? Let's say you own Neocaridina shrimp. And you looked in there and you see a dead shrimp left and right. You just see 2 or 3 shrimp just getting devoured by the snails, or even getting eaten by, their brothers and sisters in the tank. Well, that problem could come down to many different things. But let's just say that you tested your water, you have 0 ammonia, you have 0 nitrites, and you have like 10 nitrates. All right, so we find out that it's none of that. So then you test it for other things like calcium, and you find out that you have 120 parts per million of calcium in there. And then you test it for magnesium, and that's good. And then you test it for copper, and there's no copper in there. And then you test it, and you keep going, and you find everything in there, and there's just nothing in there that you can test for that you can find is causing the problem. So then you look at other things. Do I have a malfunctioning heater? No, the water temperature 78 degrees. Okay, well, did I do too big of a water change? Well, let's see. I do the same water change every single week, so that can't be it. And I only do 25%, sometimes less. It doesn't matter. I just take out 5 gallons, put 5 gallons back. So that's not it, because I've been doing that the whole time. But the one thing I did that you haven't done because you didn't know about it is check the total dissolved solids. Welcome to NoobAquatics. This is Matthew. Thanks for coming back again. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like our videos. That way that we get thrown back up there into the YouTube algorithm and people see these videos. If they're helping you out, then let them help other people as well. All right, so today we are going over what we needed to do to get our TDS down. So TDS is stands for total dissolved solids within your aquarium. These dissolved solids make a difference to how it reacts with your plants, how they react with your fish, inverts, all of that. So why did we all of a sudden start testing TDS? Well, in one of our shrimp aquariums, the red Neocaridina shrimp aquarium that we have, the shrimp started dying one after another. Day by day, one shrimp would die, one shrimp would die, one shrimp would die. So I researched everything, tested even stuff that you don't normally test, like magnesium and calcium, that type of thing, and couldn't find anything wrong with the water parameters. Nothing, not a single thing wrong with the water parameters. And now keep this in mind, this is after adding in equilibrium and at small quantities and stuff like that to try to give them some minerals. It turns out that our TDS coming out of our tap water, all right, the TDS coming out of the tap water was 116. Now TDS includes many different things. It can have testosterone, other weird chemicals in there, cancer-causing chemicals. Who knows what is coming out of your tap? That's one of the problems with TDS, is that whenever you take water out of your tap and put it into your tank, you're putting chemicals in there that are potentially dangerous to all of your creatures. Now that doesn't mean you don't need any TDS in your aquarium. You need to still have the right minerals, such as calcium, magnesium, potassium, that type of thing. And then of course carbonate salts to keep your KH balanced. So just know that TDS is the total dissolved solids of everything that is literally floating in the water. We tested our water and we found out on this website that our city water has many different random things in there, and one of them, weird enough, was testosterone. Now that was our TDS in our sink. So to kind of go forward, that TDS coming out of our sink, when we added in the KH buffer or the alkaline buffer by SeaChem and the quarter tablespoon of SeaChem equilibrium, not a lot, just enough to raise our GH up to 7 instead of keeping it at 6. Well, that raised the TDS from 116 up to 355. So we were increasing the volume of our TDS inadvertently without even knowing it. So we bought a TDS monitor. All right, so what we got here is a TDS meter. All right, this TDS meter is what I was talking about on measuring the TDS. We got this on Amazon here. We got it on Amazon here for about 15 bucks. Great little meter. I mean, we haven't had a single problem with this. It's got a 2-year warranty on it, I believe. and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. We tried a pH meter off of Amazon similar to this, and that thing was horrible. So the next time we buy a pH meter, we're going to get one of those $60 ones just to make sure that it works. But yeah, so if you need one of these, this is a great device, really cheap. I'll leave a link in the description below so that you can purchase one if you need it. But if you have regular fish and you don't see any problems with your fish, and you don't have plants, you probably don't need one of these. But if you have plants, you start seeing problems such as plants dying quicker, turning yellow because they don't have enough nutrients, that type of thing, then you may want to check your TDS to see where it's at when you're not adding in any minerals, that type of thing. That way you can know at least where it's at and make changes if you need to. Well, we found out that our water has some pretty nasty chemicals in it. So we were seeing some leaves that were turning yellow and dying, and we had a filter, and I'll show you what we have. All right, so we have this filter right here. This filters out a lot of stuff, but it doesn't lower the TDS. It actually adds stuff in there. So the water coming out of the tap is 112, 116. The water coming out of here, which weird enough was 118 up to 120, so it's adding in minerals, but it's not filtering everything out. So what did we do? We bought a Aquatic Life RO Buddy. If you see that there, it comes with this is the 4-stage filter. It says it does 50 gallons per day. Now that is all dependent on the temperature of the water, all right, the pressure of your water, and how much TDS is actually coming out of the tap. So if you have a really high TDS coming out of the tap, then you're probably going to be lower than the 50 gallons per day. If you have a low like 100 like we do, then you're probably good. In fact, we're actually getting more gallons per day at the moment with this, and you'll see it's not fully set up. I got it set up here. I'm actually going to mount it to the wall right here. We have another part coming in that is a diverter so that we can actually use our sink while this is actually working on the side over here. That way I don't have to disconnect it. And you'll see here it's been roughly 44 minutes. All right, and we almost have 5 gallons of RO water. Now with the deionizer, it's supposed to be at 0. So let's show you how this TDS meter works. All right, so you'll take this here, turn it on. All right, see it's at 0. Now you put it in the water. All right, it's at 160. Well, why is that? Because I already added in SeaChem Equilibrium and I added in the alkaline buffer. All right, so that's pretty low. All right, that's very low for TDS. But the minerals that are in there, all 165 parts per million is calcium, magnesium, whatever's in SeaChem Equilibrium and the alkaline buffer. There's nothing else in here but that, which means that the water that's going to go in there is going to be much more clean for the plants and for the aquarium inhabitants. Now let's show you what it looks like without the chemicals in there. All right, so this water right here I pulled directly from the line that you see in the water there. Okay, now whenever you get this and you stick it in the water, it literally says to take it, shake off the water, and then dry off the water on a towel. Okay, that's what it actually tells you to do for the instructions. So remember, adding in SeaChem Equilibrium and the alkaline buffer in there at a half dose, meaning, or at a single dose, sorry, not a half dose, single dose, which is a 3/4 of a tablespoon of SeaChem Equilibrium and 1/4 of a teaspoon for the alkaline buffer. That brings it up to about 160 to 170. This is pure RO water. So let's take a look. It says 0. Let's put it in there. All right. Oh, is this the cup I used? Okay, so you can see there that it is 1. So far we've not seen 1. We've seen 0, but this was the same cup I used to mix and dissolve the SeaChem Equilibrium. So there may be a little bit left in the bottom down there, but still 1 is pretty amazing. But yeah, so that's what we get out of this right here. 5 gallons of pure RO water mixed with the Equilibrium and the KH, and that will help balance out our water. So yeah, so if you're needing to adjust your TDS or you notice some issues with your plants or your inverts or anything like that, our recommendation is one of two. You can either buy an RO device like we did, you can go to the store and buy reverse osmosis water directly from your grocery store, or you can go to some local fish stores. They also have RO water for sale as well. Or you can even get distilled water. Distilled water works, but we recommend RO water because it takes out all of those impurities so that you can add them back. So yeah, so that was our discovery of what's going on and how we fixed our problem here at NoobAquatics, and hopefully this helps you out. Now, the install of this RO buddy is super easy. So pretty much if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's just a matter of following the instructions, doing it exactly like they say, not using scissors, using a razor blade and having the straightest cut possible, and then connecting it up. Now, what you will find out, this right here, all right, if you don't put Teflon tape or plumber's tape on it, it is going to leak, and it doesn't come with the kit. So we recommend buying some plumber's tape and wrapping that around the threads before you actually connect up your RO buddy to the sink. Alrighty, so that's how you lower your TDS in your aquarium the easiest way. Other ways are to just monitor your TDS and don't add anything into it, because SeaChem Prime, everything you add into the aquarium adds to the TDS. SeaChem Prime, the food that you add in there will increase it a little bit. Equilibrium, Alkaline Buffer, everything will increase the TDS. So you want to keep your TDS normally below 300, unless you're keeping Neocaridina shrimp. Neocaridina shrimp can live in up to 400 TDS, but it's recommended to have, so they say it's recommended to have 250 or less for Neocaridina shrimp. We're going to be right at that 250. We want to make sure they have just enough nutrients and minerals in the water so that their shells are super healthy, so that they're able to molt properly, that type of thing. And we want to kind of balance out the KH with the GH. So the reason why we use the RO water is so that we can do that exactly to the T of what we want. We don't want to have to guess as to what's coming out of our tap. You know, is there testosterone in there, like we learned, you know, is one of the things that is found in our water as one of the recent tests. We don't want to have to deal with that. So using the RO buddy here is the perfect way where we can get all those solids out, get pure water, and then we can add in all that stuff. So the equilibrium and the alkaline buffer, so that we can get our pH where we want it, get our KH where we want it, and get our GH where we want it. That's the goal. But our goal here for our Neocaridina shrimp and the rest of our tanks is somewhere, for what we're going to do is we're going to strive right at the 250, but keep it less than 300. So our goal is between 250 and 300, but with known minerals in the water, no guessing. Now for the RO buddy and anything else on this video that I've used to make this system work for our kitchen sink, like such as the plumber's tape or anything else that, you know, we're going to go over here. I'll put links down in the description just in case you want to get some of the stuff that you see in this video. Now let's take a look at the finished install here, what it looks like when we finally got it installed and everything else, and how we store our RO water so that we can keep it and get it ready for our aquariums for the next day when we do our water changes. Alright, so the final product here, you'll see that here's the RO device. We got it installed on the wall. Alright, I got the tubes connected here, but the cool part is that I'm able to use the RO device at any time, my filter at any time, and regular sink water. So you'll see here, there's the sink. Can use it. Alright, if I want to use that over there, I pull that, it works just fine. And then if I want to go back to RO water, it goes back up. So the drain goes right there, and I got my buckets on the ground. Now this part right here, this is a aquarium. This is a kitchen sink or a sink diverter. All right, you'll see it rotates here, which is nice. You can get this on Amazon for about 15 bucks. This little piece right here, this attachment, this ain't the greatest attachment, so you may need to buy a new one of these or one that has a gasket on the inside. I just used, as you'll see here, just a lot of Teflon tape, and I mean a lot, to keep this from leaking. This is the only part right here that leaked. Everything else is great. Teflon tape there, Teflon tape here, no leaks. But yeah, so this is the only issue with this part. A lot of Teflon tape fixes the problem, or you can just go to Lowe's or Home Depot or your hardware store, take this in there with you and just look for one that actually has a rubber gasket on the inside, or you can just find a rubber gasket that actually fits on the inside in there and screw that on there. And this is just the standard size garden hose attachment right here for the Aquatic Life RO Buddy. This right here produces near zero, if not zero, RO water. I tested this just a moment ago. It was actually zero. Got my TDS meter and I'll show you. So you'll see there that it is zero total dissolved solids. So works perfectly like it should. So one other thing that I'm doing here, which I'll come over and show you. So we have that RO water and it takes a little bit for the pH to actually stabilize. So what I'm doing, and I'm walking around a lot, all right, what I'm doing is I'm actually letting it sit. So I take those buckets, I want to make sure that the water is fully aerated and the water is up to temperature, because like I said, I'm using 100% cold water. So I set up a little station over here, and this station has heaters for each bucket, lids for the buckets, and it has aerators. And I'll explain what I did with the aerators here as well. So over here you'll see this is my aerator station slash heater station. So I'm going to I put all three buckets, 1, 2, 3 right there. I have an air stone in that one, air stone for this one, and air stone for that one. I'm using two 40-gallon rated Tetra air pumps. Why? Because they were on sale for roughly 15 bucks, actually less, I believe. I can't remember, but they were super cheap, so I bought two of them, and I am splitting it. So I got them both connected into the air line, and I'm splitting it into a splitter here. And you'll see this is a 4 splitter. It does pretty good. There is just a little bit of leaking out of this here, but not enough to really make a difference. But yeah, so this is where I let it sit and let the pH, you know, balance itself out. We set the RO water up the day before, let it sit, add in the equilibrium, add in the alkaline buffer to get the KH up, let it sit, and then the next day we use it in our aquariums. So like I said, at one point we had a TDS issue, and we didn't even know it because we weren't checking our TDS. It was one of the things that I've never done, but I do now. So let's take a look at what our numbers used to be, and I'll show you what one of those tanks currently is right now after using RO water to slowly integrate that into our system to drop these numbers down. So up here you'll see our tracker. So this is when I first started testing for TDS. You'll see here that this one, the first one here, all the way over. All right, so these are the tanks up here. You'll see 40, 75, all the way over to our 10 small. So the numbers, as you can see, 360, 329, 460, 420, all the way up to the 500s here, 503, 557. So the worst one here was the 557, okay? That's that one right there. And then of course our next was 516. So let's take a look at the 557, since that's the one that makes the most adjustments. You'll see here the first time we started adjusting the TDS, the number right below it right there. You'll see it already dropped to 386. That's just with one bucket change. And you'll see that how using RO water drops the TDS down quite a bit. We'll test a couple of them. I'll show you what the numbers are in a few of these tanks, so that you can see what the difference is. So we'll go and we'll check out the 10-gallon in the back. We'll check out the 10-gallon right over here, and we'll check out the other 500, which is another 10-gallon in the back. All right, so this tank right here, this was the one that was the highest on the TDS. This thing here was over 500. Why does it keep doing that? It keeps darkening up. So let's take a look here and see what it currently is now. So let's open this up using one hand and test the TDS. So you'll see here that the 500 that it was is now 263. Big change. It's half of what it was. This one here also, this was another one of the 500 ones. Let's take a look at this one. You see here, TDS is down to 250 in this one. Not bad. Oops. And this one here, this was the last one that was over 500. And let's take a look at that one. And you'll see here, this one's at 247. Now, as it is with any change that you make in your aquariums, you'll see that those are drastically, hey Melee, those are drastically reduced from 500s down to the 250s. Now, this is not a change that happened overnight. What you got to do with any changes like that, any changes to the parameters, you got to make sure they're slowly changed. So changing them like just 10%, 5 or 10% of the water every single day or every other day, you're not going to want to do it all of a sudden, just change out 100% of the water and then put in the new water. You'll shock your fish, potentially even lose some of them. So you want to make these changes gradual. So in my opinion, you can do every other day, 5 to 10%, and you keep doing that until you start seeing the numbers that you want. Once you get those numbers that you want, then you can start doing the normal size water changes that you would normally do, such as our case. Our normal water changes are 25% for every aquarium. So once we get the TDS down to where we want it using the RO system, we're going to start going back to the 25% water changes. Yeah, thanks again. Join us here at NoobAquatics. If you enjoyed the if you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe, and you have a wonderful day.